The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of Shiny Side Out. That's right, number 716, I think. 6, 10, and 700. Am I right?
Where it's 716, yes. But where's your video?
Oh, I turned it on. Didn't I turn it on?
No.
Why not? Why not? There you go. There's my video. Hello, everybody.
There he is.
I don't know why that didn't turn on. That was just craziness. What? Hey, if you're listening to us now, you might be listening to us canned or in a short. Try and come and see the long version and come and see the live version as well, if you can. There is a chat room, and we are looking into it. So we always do. It's always important to look at what's going on. Then we've got Fleece in the Fleece, Omega Logos, Two Feathers, and many, many, many others in the chat room. So get in there if you want to, and we can have a two-way conversation. Promise that I'll keep an eye on it. I also want to say again, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, and just generally being, there to view our stuff. Thank you so much. It really makes a big difference. I do want to hit 10,000 subscribers at some point, and we're getting there. Slowly but surely, we're getting there.
One thing I wanted to ask people, Mackie, one thing I wanted to ask was, if you tell someone else about what you heard from us, let us know. And let us know what they thought as well.
100%. 100%. So please go ahead and do all of that. Donate to the station if you can. Any kind of currency is good, including crypto. Or if you can't donate, then tell people about the station. It's all about the influx of listeners. The more listeners, the better. And something I'm going to talk to Dave about after the show, which is all goodness. Alrighty, so where are we now? We are what is this number? I'll tell you what part this is. I'll know exactly. The hypothesis, part 16. That's where we are.
Yeah, this is the pineal gland in history. Is the next component.
That is exactly right. And why don't you go ahead, my friend, and enlighten us?
You got it. The pineal gland in history. Although commonly attributed to Descartes, the idea that the pineal gland was the interfacing organ where the spirit of man gained access and animated the human body was the idea of a Greek physician named Herophilus. 300 years before Christ, Herophilus was dissecting corpses and documenting what he observed. His specialties were reproductive systems and the brain. Gotta have a hobby. Prior to Herophilus, people believed the executive office of human consciousness was the heart. Egyptian mummies had their hearts carefully embalmed and preserved while their brains were removed through their nasal passages and unceremoniously discarded. But Herophilus knew that the brain was the controlling center, and he went on to discriminate between the various parts of the brain and assess the different behaviors associated with them. Herophilus noticed that this small pineal structure was singular. Unlike other brain features that are mirrored in the left and right hemispheres, it is the first gland to be formed in the fetus and is distinguishable at 3 weeks. It is also highly nourished. The pineal gland has been supplied with the best blood, oxygen and nutrient mix available in the human anatomy, second only to that of our kidneys, whose function is to filter the blood of impurities. Because of this unique and special anatomical configuration, Herophilus rightly concluded it had a major role in consciousness and was the gateway to our real self. Herophilus is credited also with the invention of the scientific method, the dogma of just about every scientific inquiry today, which consists of postulating theories and conducting experiments to prove or disprove them. It is ironic, then, that the scientific inquiry of the pineal gland has been vigorously avoided because of its association with spiritual phenomena, incapable of scrutiny. Only recently have scientists become interested in knowing more about this mysterious gland. Herophilus wrote many volumes about anatomy and illustrated them, much as Leonardo da Vinci did centuries later. But sadly, his work did not survive the destruction of the great library of Alexandria, where they were stored. Meki, we have hourglassing events in genetic history. We also have hourglassing events that occurred in a civilization's knowledge of history as well.
Look, you're absolutely correct. We do know that there were significant culling events that reduced our numbers significantly, not to double dutch you. But the same goes for our knowledge, right? I'll give you a simple example. The Roman Empire more or less collapsed after 1,000 years, about 500, 600 or so in the AD, with the East Roman Empire still going on, but Rome certainly fell. Constantinople still stayed for another 1,000 years. But Europe, though not falling into a real dark age, became a lot less enlightened. And there was a lot less going on. The East was where the knowledge was. And so for 1,000 years, Europe was starved, except for the monasteries and the churches and so forth. Europe was starved of scientific endeavor to some extent, for various reasons. And then with the fall of Constantinople in 1457, you have a huge influx, in the period before, but also after. You've got a huge influx of Eastern knowledge and science coming our way, right? From with scholars from what is now Turkey, Persia, Central Asia, as well as Saudi Arabia and Arabia in general, all going into Europe, and that's of course what initiated the Renaissance, the rebirth of human endeavors in the West, and that was a huge event, right? And this was one of those hourglass moments Dave speaks about, where knowledge was just completely gone for 1,000 years and then came back. But before that, they say that 1 million tomes were destroyed in the Library of Alexandria, 1 million books. Right? Who knows? I mean, these. Remember, this was 2,000 years ago, and the books then were old, right? That they had there, they were old then. Mm-hmm. So. And some were written in languages which probably only a few people knew or understood, maybe Sanskrit, maybe language we no longer know. And there are many other instances like that where an entire people, an entire civilization is completely erased, even within the boundaries of what we like to call written history or our known history, right, within the last 5,000 years. South America. We have very little knowledge what happened there. Africa, very little knowledge what happened there. I mean, I'll give you an example in Asia, Angkor Wat. We're now discovering that Angkor Wat was a massive structure. We had no idea, but LiDAR tells us it was huge, right? They're huge.
Yeah, 100%.
South America. Yeah, South America and the Amazon, right? In the Amazon especially. We find a temple here and a step pyramid there, and and a glyph in the earth over here. But with LiDAR, we're taking a step back and we're realizing, we spoke about this before, I know, but we're realizing, hey, hang on, this entire area was colonized, was peopled. There were cities here.
That's right.
There were tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. It looks like the entire Amazon was a parkland.
It was parkland, Meki, and there was just buildings and people, is what it was.
Yeah.
Meki, the other thing I wanted to mention was the Perry Reese map. Just while we're talking about
very
it.
good.
Antiquity
100%.
Was able to sustain this map. I don't forget how old it is, but it's extraordinarily old, and it has Antarctica currently mapped without any ice.
It goes back to the 15th century. Piri Reis was an admiral for the Turkish Sultan, and they only found the map. I want to say in the 20th century amongst the bric-a-brac of the Sultan's palace when the Young Turks took over. Right, so when they kicked the Sultan out and they looked through all the stuff, they found it. But you're quite right. Now bear in mind that even when the map was discovered at that time, we still didn't know the outline of Antarctica, the continent, not the ice mass.
Not at all.
So even when the map was let alone when the map was commissioned. So Piri Reis is said on the map that the map that he had was commissioned to be created with other older source maps.
That's right.
As a guide, if you will, or input. So he used older maps to create this map, and it even. The funny thing is this: it even accurately depicts the proper curvature of the Earth, which is notoriously difficult to do.
That's right.
Because what we're looking at, a world map today is called a Mercator projection. Now, a Mercator projection is meant to translate the curvature of the Earth onto a flat surface. It does so by distorting the map. Now, if you don't look at the latitude and the longitude, right? And realize they're all the same distance. All the latitudes and all the longitudes are the same distance from each other. But in a Mercator projection, if you look at Siberia, for example, they look a lot bigger because of the way it's projected. Which makes Siberia look bigger than Africa, which is complete nonsense, of course.
That's right.
But if you saw a map, and this I've done this to a few people because you can find those maps online now. If you saw a map of what the world actually looked like, you'd be going, "What?"
Like to scale is what Meki means. That's right.
Just to scale, like each continent, each landmass, each country in the correct proportions to each other. It's a very different map.
There is a very funny scene where people are talking about this in a movie and calling it a conspiracy. So I love the fact that it's there and it's out. So have a look at Perry Reese map and learn for yourselves, Meki.
Fascinating stuff. And there are others. There are other maps. Fiento Arrayos. Look, I'll put it all together. But there's a really great book by Charles Hapgood, Maps of Ancient Sea Kings. If you haven't seen it, Charles Hapgood, Maps of Ancient Sea Kings. If you can still get it. I've got it in my shelf somewhere. But it's fascinating. And there's a whole section on, well, actually, what he deals with are the maps that are left over, which show things that we shouldn't know. We shouldn't be able to see. It is clear that there was some kind of seafaring, or look.
Go on.
I want to go spacefaring. It's not just seafaring, but spacefaring. And I say this because cast your mind back to the Bible. Not Bible bashing you. I swear, I promise I will not Bible bash you, but I was blessed with a German education, which is very thorough, including Protestant and Catholic religious lessons. So I read the Bible back to front. But if you cast your mind back to Ezekiel specifically, and he was taken into the heavens aboard one of God's chariots, whatever,
God.
Right? And he flies up, right? And he looks down at the land. And remember, this was 3,000-4,000 years ago. So he said the land looks like a bowl of porridge, and the water looks like a big trough. So he described what he saw with the best analogies that he had.
That's all he had. Yeah.
Now, even from a mountain, a really high mountain, it's hard to describe the land that way, right? Unless it's like really super duper high mountain. You really only appreciate what Ezekiel saw if you look at it from the height of where our planes fly today, right? And then you go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we talk about flying machines. We talk about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah which reads like nothing more than some potentially some kind of nuclear device. Potentially could be some other, could be rods of God for all we know. And we talk about the walls of Jericho, which were brought down with sonic weapons. Okay, they had the trumpets there, and when they reached a certain frequency, the walls crumbled.
That's right.
Well, it's just high tech stuff. It's high tech stuff, guys. It really is, right? If you really look at it and you read it, Arabian Nights, 1001 Nights, right? The Arabian fairy tales. There's so much tech in there. Your mind overloads. Oh, dude, voice activated doors.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Huh?
And this is the kicker. Now in Star Trek, and I'll have to tell the story. In Star Trek in the 60s, the first series Star Trek, right? James T. Kirk and all that. The doors would open as they approached, and we go shh, shh, shh.
That's right.
Shh, right? Now in the 60s, we didn't have the tech for self-opening doors, so there were two guys, one on each side of the doors that opened the doors.
Door opens. That's right.
Right? That's in the 60s. We didn't have the tech. And in Arabian Nights, they're describing, voice-activated doors, open sesame. Hello. Not only that, if you have read the original, which was translated by Richard Burton, not the actor, Richard Burton, the adventurer. Okay, the guy that got a spear. He got a spear in his mouth and lost a few teeth. Yeah, he was quite the adventurer. Anyway, he translated it from the original Arabic into English. The first translation was Richard Burton. And I've got it here at home, and it's the most anti-Semitic book you will ever read in your life. It is horrible. If you're Jewish, don't read it. That's all I can say to you. The way the Jews are depicted in that book, it's a book of fairy tales, I get it, but still, it's not flattering. That's all I want to say here. Now, having said all of that, right? It is really important to understand that these hourglass events, especially in the sense of scientific knowledge that was lost, are critically important for us today, right? And I like how this article here says, modern science has shied away from looking at the pineal gland spiritual, because you can't really use the scientific method to. I mean, how do you cut up a spirit, right? How do you weigh some kind of esoteric concept? You can't. So scientists don't like to look at that. They like to look at us as flesh and blood robots. Nothing could be further from the truth. And you have to understand that even at Descartes' time, right? Even though Descartes is always blamed for this, even at Descartes' time, we hadn't divorced body from spirit yet. And certainly Herophilus, right, 2,500 years ago, thereabouts, was very much in tune with his body being a physical expression as well as a spiritual expression. And in the East, they never lost that understanding. In the West, we've completely thrown it out the window.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's the hourglass there for you, mate.
Well, while you have the talking stick, Mickey, why don't you go through the third eye?
The third eye. Now, this is interesting, right? And the funny thing is this. Every culture that I know of is talking about the third eye. Okay? The eye that, that can see into the spiritual, that can see the future, that can tell your fortune, etc., right? Virtually everyone. Now, by 1884, the field of comparative anatomy was revealing evidence that human organs could be traced back to lower vertebrates. F. Alborn recognized that pineal gland was originally a photoreactive organ in fish and amphibians and was sometimes located outside the skull, just under the skin. Its function as a trigger for reproduction was noted some 70 years later. So we're talking like 1950s. The pineal gland was responsible for evaluating the length of day and night, calculating the correct season to mate, and turning up the sex drive. That's, of course, day and night are the circadian rhythms we talk about. By 1958, Aaron Lerner discovered melatonin, a vital molecule produced in the pineal gland from another common neurotransmitter, serotonin. He also validated the fact that the production of melatonin varied, stopping during the daylight and ramping up shortly after darkness. Melatonin, it was learned, was responsible for making us relaxed and putting us to sleep. For a while, it was not known how this small gland, buried deep in the middle of the human brain, could sense light or darkness. But it was later discovered that there was a link to the pineal gland from the retinas, which, oddly enough, also contained melatonin. In no time, the pineal gland was being called the third eye, and because of its location at one of the 7 chakras, it was reputed to be the center of spiritual and psychic energy. As hallucinogens became popular in the late 1960s, interest in altered states of consciousness as a means to spirituality peaked. Researchers discovered that LSD became highly concentrated in the pineal gland and pituitary glands. The altered state was produced by LSD's ability to imitate serotonin at the synapse, where the neurons communicate with each other. Since both serotonin and melatonin are also concentrated in the pineal gland, this third eye was considered a portal to consciousness, what author Aldous Huxley the doors of perception. Now, Aldous Huxley, Brave New World, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
That's a long one. Even gurus have commented on the pineal, equating it to one of the chakras. Now, I'm quoting here. This is Satyananda in 1972. All psychic systems have their physical aspect in the body. With Ajna chakra, the physical equivalent is the pineal gland, which has long baffled doctors and scientists as to its precise function. Yogis who are scientists of the subtle mind have always spoken of telepathy as a siddhi, a psychic power for thought, communication, and clairaudience, etc. The medium of such siddhis is Ajna chakra, or Ajna chakra, and its physical terminus is the pineal gland, which is connected to the brain. It has been stated by great yogis that the pineal gland is the receptor and sender of the subtle vibrations which carry thoughts and psychic phenomena throughout the cosmos. Again, Satyananda, 1972. But is any of this supported by Herophilus' scientific method? Many experiments were conducted on so-called psi, or paranormal phenomena, in the 1970s. Dixon found that the pineal gland was a prime focus of this activity. He noted that psi activity was most successful in a relaxed, drowsy state, similar to those induced by melatonin. Other studies found correlations with melatonin and the practice of yogic meditation, thought to be a prerequisite for enlightenment. Now, this is a quote again here. Yogic practices for 3 months resulted in an improvement in cardiorespiratory performance and psychological profile. The plasma melatonin also showed an increase after 3 months of yogic practices. The systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, mean arterial pressure, and orthostatic tolerance did not show any significant correlation with plasma melatonin. However, the maximum nighttime melatonin levels in yoga group showed a significant correlation with well-being score. These observations suggest that yogic practices can be used as psychophysiological stimuli to increase endogenous secretion of melatonin, which, in turn, might be responsible for improved sense of well-being. Quote, more dramatic evidence comes from mystical and near-death experience induced by a chemical called diethyltryptamine, or DMT. The traditional sacrament of South American shamans, DMT closely resembles both melatonin and serotonin and occurs naturally in some tropical vegetation as well as the human body. It is thought that stored DMT is released from the pineal gland just prior to death, causing the out-of-body experience and mystical visions reported by near-death experience survivors. While there has been no empirical evidence linking the pineal gland to the production of DMT, its association with melatonin, from which it is made, seems to strongly suggest this possibility. and I'm quoting now Rick J. Strassman from 2001, as an endogenous or naturally produced human psychedelic, I believed it might mediate spontaneous psychedelic experiences such as near-death and mystical states. I also considered the pineal gland a likely source of this endogenous DMT. As such, the pineal might be a spirit gland. Medical researcher J.C. Callaway in 1988 suggested that naturally occurring DMT might be connected with visual dream phenomena, where brain DMT levels are periodically elevated to induce visual images and possibly other paranormal states of mind. So, although empirical proof of the esoteric functions of the pineal gland have not been found, the idea seems worth pursuing.
Okay, Mackie, I don't think I've done this, but it says I have detoxed my pineal gland and understand how important it is. How do I activate it? Because as Mackie will say, I've got a tooth growing in my head. And last episode, 715, I did show some images of what my brain looks like because I've so calcified it, my pineal gland, it looks like a tooth on an MRI. Now, opening the third eye. Powerful ancient practices for activating the pineal gland and expanding consciousness. This is by Mantak Shire and Joyce Thom. Balancing and activating the pineal gland is a foundational practice for expanding consciousness and restoring the health and vibrancy of the physical body. The fundamentals of pineal gland activation, balancing the endocrine system. In both craniosacral work and Daoist practice, the endocrine system is a critical gateway joining physical function with spiritual experience. The endocrine system includes the following glands: the pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenals, pancreas, and ovaries and testes. These glands use hormones rather than the electrical impulses used by the nervous system and muscles for that matter, to affect changes in our body, emotions, cognition, and energy. Hormones are chemical messengers that circulate through the body via the bloodstream and coordinate critical body functions. They increase or reduce nerve impulses and can also act as neurotransmitters. The hypothalamus-pituitary relationship. Although the pituitary gland is often being referred to as the master gland because it appears to control the endocrine system, the hypothalamus plays a more crucial role in this system than previously thought. The hypothalamus receives and integrates information from the rest of the body and then secretes the neurohormones that release or inhibit key pituitary hormones. By signaling and directing the pituitary, the hypothalamus plays a critical part in the endocrine system and is important in a larger sense for the pineal gland activation. Functions of the pituitary in physical health and spiritual awakening. The anterior lobe of the pituitary secretes 7 key hormones that are related to lactation, the release of testosterone, the production of sex, thyroid, and human growth hormones. The posterior lobe, not the anterior, but the posterior lobe, does not produce hormones, but stores and releases 2 important ones made in the brain: oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin fosters maternal instincts, bonding between mates, trust, and sexual pleasure. Vasopressin influences circadian rhythms and reabsorption of water into the bloodstream. And also stimulates... It makes you sneeze when you say it. And also stimulates
what happens.
Paternal, protective, and caring instincts. The pituitary relates to our growth and its health is also important for pineal gland activation. When it begins to vibrate in synchrony with the pineal gland, we are inspired to grow and renew ourselves both physically and spiritually. Meki.
Here we go. The pineal gland. The pineal gland is located in the center of the brain, behind and above the pituitary gland. Because the pineal is bathed in highly charged cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, and has more blood flow per cubic volume than any other organ, it may well be the gland with the highest concentration of energy in the body. In addition to its high concentration of CSF and blood, the pineal gland is also the dominant source of the body's melatonin. Melatonin and the pineal gland. Melatonin is significant for its effects on our mood, immune function, circadian rhythms, and the quality and quantity of our sleep. Melatonin is known as an anti-aging and anti-stress agent because it both suppresses cortisol and is a powerful antioxidant. The production of melatonin by the pineal gland is activated by darkness and inhibited by light. Once released, melatonin circulates through the brain via the CSF and enters nearby blood vessels for distribution to the rest of the body. When melatonin levels are disrupted, people can experience mood swings, depression, and seasonal disorders. Serotonin and other consciousness-enhancing neurochemicals secreted by the pineal gland. In addition to producing melatonin, a healthy, activated pineal gland also metabolizes other neurochemicals that coordinate physical and emotional processes on a cellular level. These neurochemicals, including pineoline and DMT, are set to connect the mind and body. The pineal plays a key role in the production of these neurochemicals because it has one of the highest concentrations of serotonin in the body, and serotonin is a critical precursor to them. Spiritual aspects of the pineal gland. Given its important role, it is not surprising that a healthy, activated pineal gland has been connected with spirituality for millennia. Its pine cone shape is found in art and artifacts of many ancient traditions, where it is associated with enlightenment and immortality. Ancient Egyptians revered this tiny gland and even preserved it separately during the process of mummification. With its spines and spirals, the pine cone illustrates a perfect Fibonacci sequence, symbolizing growth and the unifying force that underlies creation, all embodied in an activated pineal gland. Dave?
The pineal gland, key to opening the third eye. Spiritual traditions associate and activate pineal gland with the opening of the third eye of inner vision, insight, and wisdom. Scientific research is beginning to validate the relationship between the pineal gland and vision. Comparative research into the anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry of the pineal gland and the retina across a wide range of animal species suggests that the two organs share evolutionary and developmental paths. Modern living fossils, such as the tuatara, have a photosensitive pineal eye with a rudimentary lens, cornea, and retina. Other species, such as frogs and lampreys, also have pineal eyes. In humans, pineal cells resemble retinal cells in composition and in the presence of proteins not found elsewhere in the body. Pineal light sensitivity is common across diverse species and in humans is connected with the opening of the third eye. Melatonin and the spirit molecules. In terms of spiritual experience, melatonin quiets the body and mind, allowing access to higher consciousness. Both pineoline and DMT, secreted by a healthy, activated pineal gland, are psychoactive, causing changes in perception, mood, consciousness, cognition, and behavior. pineal line enables visions and dream states in the conscious mind and has been used by ancient Egyptians and Zoroastrians in their rituals. It assists in DNA replication and is said to resonate with the pulse of life. This is 8 cycles per second. DMT is produced in the pineal gland during deep meditation and extraordinary conditions of birth, sexual ecstasy, extreme physical stress, and near-death experiences, or NDEs. It also alters our dream consciousness when it is released into the bloodstream during rapid eye movement phase of sleep. DMT links the body and spirit because of its relationship to visionary experiences and non-ordinary states of transcendent consciousness. Dr. Rick Strassman calls DMT the spirit molecule. Oh, you can do this next one, Mickey. My voice is going.
No worries. The pineal gland and vibration. The activated pineal gland can also influence our experience through vibration. As we saw earlier with the heart, rhythmic vibrations can have a powerful effect on our cognition, emotions, and physical state. We know this intuitively, and we experience it directly when we sense the effects that music has on our mood, memory, and physiology. In the early 1980s, the French musician Fabien Moman researched the effect of sound vibration on cells. He found that sounds can destroy cancer cells and invigorate healthy ones. Today, it is common for parents to play classical music to stimulate brain development in their children before and after birth. We did that. I think it worked.
Likewise.
Rhythm entrainment, also called resonance, happens when two waveforms begin to oscillate together at exactly the same rate. When the hypothalamus and pituitary entrain with the pulsing vibration of the pineal gland, our whole system can shift toward harmony. Taoists believe that the North Star is the source of the original pulse. Vibrations from this star were crucial in the evolution of the first forms of life on Earth. It is said that Earth's ability to support life is related to the planet's tilt towards the North Star, rather than being oriented directly towards the sun. This orientation maximizes the habitable surface and optimizes the environment for plant and animal life. Because of the North Star's strong power and influence, many Qigong exercises intentionally connect with the North Star. According to Taoists, the North Star emits pulsing vibrations which affect and activate the pineal gland. When the pineal gland pulses in synchrony with the North Star, it receives cosmic information and relays it to the hypothalamus and pituitary through resonance. In turn, they send messages to the heart, which communicates with the rest of the body through its own electromagnetic pulsing. Magnetic fields and the pineal gland. Besides being sensitive to light and vibration, the pineal gland activates in part due to exposure to magnetic fields. Studies with birds and other animals conclude that the pineal gland monitors magnetic fields and assists the body in orienting in space by acting as a navigational center. This magnetoreceptive capacity also explains why geomagnetic storms and environmental stress can affect the pineal gland, leading to problems with circadian rhythms and melatonin secretion. As we discussed earlier, the heart generates a strong electromagnetic field that permeates the whole body. When the heart is activated with the high frequencies of love and compassion, its electromagnetic field is amplified and expanded. The pineal gland's sensitivity to electromagnetic energy causes it to begin vibrating and activating in concert with the heart. As these two organs entrain together, the high vibrations opens the third eye to greater inspiration, intuition, and inner vision. Because of the pineal gland's connection with spatial orientation and circadian rhythms, our perception of space and time often shifts when the pineal is in a highly aroused state. Such experiences have been mentioned by meditators and Qigong practitioners for millennia, and research is now providing explanations for these phenomena. Dave?
Now we have the crystal palace, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and pineal. In Taoist practices, the region of the brain bounded by the pineal, the pituitary, and the hypothalamus glands is called the crystal palace. The crystal palace sits between the left and right hemispheres of the brain and between the forebrain of reason and the hindbrain of instinct. Many meditation practices mention the crystal palace, but some people have difficulty sensing it because these structures are inside the skull and cannot be touched directly. However, with little practice, it is simple to connect with and activate these spiritual glands through our awareness and intention. The location of the pineal gland is often described as the center of the head. It is at the level of the eyebrows, above and behind the pituitary and hypothalamus. Behind the eyes, the optic nerves cross at the optic, what's that? Not chasm, but it's close. Below the optic chiasm is the pituitary gland, which sits in the sella turcica of the sphenoid, above and behind the optic chiasm and the hypothalamus. I'm making up the pronunciation as I go along, Mickey. Long pronounced like that. Trust me.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
The pineal, that's what we've talked about off air, just letting you know. Just pronounce it. Just go ahead and own it. The pineal gland, pineal gland and its relationship with light. All three glands of the crystal palace are extremely sensitive and responsive to light. Prior to 2002, science was aware of two forms of light receptors in the eye: cones for colour vision and rods for low light vision. In 2002, however, scientists discovered a third photoreceptor cells in the retina that contain a light-sensitive pigment called melanopsin. These cells send messages to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, of the hypothalamus. The SCN is responsible for controlling circadian rhythms, which influence our sleep, alertness, hormones, temperature, and digestive functions. When the hypothalamus receives information about the presence or absence of light, it signals the pineal gland to activate and to start or inhibit cortisol and melatonin production. Variation in melatonin levels causes a cascade of changes in the SCN, pituitary, and retina. The pituitary also responds to light through its release of vasopressin, which influences the SCN to adjust our circadian clock. In addition, and circadian clock, you might know that if you're listening to this, is like jet lag experience, where you've come from one, cycle, and then you end up somewhere else on the earth and the cycle has to adjust itself. In addition to the light detected by our eyes, studies now show that the whole body acts as a light receptor. Light shining on any part of the body can be detected, signaling that the SCN and pineal gland to shut down melatonin production. Because there is so much ambient light these days, our systems rarely receive deep relaxation that occurs in total darkness. Many people find that removing light sources from the bedroom can be helpful in optimizing sleep cycles, improving general health, and powerfully stimulating pineal gland activation and rebalancing. That's got to be something that I do. It's got to be, you've got to set your TV, if you're going to fall asleep in front of the TV, set it to have like an hour timeout. So it goes to black screen, turns off, without interfering with it, right? So that should be about enough for anyone to fall asleep.
100%. In fact, you should sleep in utter darkness. Funnily enough, if you look at the initiation practices of a lot of mystery schools and secret societies,
I don't know what you're talking about, Mickey.
I know, clearly. They happen in complete darkness.
That's
the
right.
initiations of the Egyptian rites were in fact, in utter darkness and kept there for a while. And a lot of people report very powerful experiences in sensory deprivation chambers, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't had the experience yourself, it might not be bad to find one where you can float, go into like a high saltwater tank, and turn off all external stimuli, and just be with yourself for like 10 minutes. See if you can stand it. There's no really. There's a room.
Yeah.
In the States, somewhere, I can't remember where, but you can look it up yourself. It's completely and utterly soundproof. It's everything proof. Like in that room, there's nothing that creates a noise, right? It even swallows the noises that you create. And most people can't stand being in there for longer than 10 minutes.
Wow. Because
it is utter silence, and you're literally there just with yourself. You can hear your heart pumping, and you can hear your blood rushing through your veins. That's how quiet it is. That's like it's built in such a way that nothing goes in, but even sound produced inside that place is swallowed up by the walls. So
I've been in soundproofed rooms where you can't hear your own voice coming out, but you hear it internally. And as you get to the wall, the sound completely disappears. So middle of the room, you can actually talk, but it's absorbed immediately into the walls. Yeah, it's quite something. Fleeced just said that no one can stand more than 1 hour in the utter silence room, and also has been putting some photos up of the Pinecone. Thanks, Fleeced.
Yeah, and in fact, what he put up there is the Pugnein in Rome, which is flanked by two peacocks. And there's also the pineal the pine cone symbol on top of the papal staff, as well as the pine cone that is held by one of the Anunnaki. The Assyrian,
that's right. They're holding it like this, like a tool.
Exactly. So thank you for that, Omega Logos, and Fleeced as well. Those are exactly the right picture. Actually, sorry, it's all Fleeced. No, not you. I'll thank you anyway, Omega Logos, but Fleeced
and Batsman. Thank
you. Some really great pictures here. And you will see, this is the thing, right? Whenever you see the pine cone like thing, it could be a pine cone, it could also be a lotus flower, it could be a conical shape of some kind, a hairdo, for example, in Angkor Wat, but it's usually flanked by two identical things. In this case, they're peacocks, and in other cases, they're elephants. In other cases, they're other things still. And in my mind,
it could be the snake on our DNA, the doctor's symbol.
Yeah. Correct. The two heads of the snake on either side, on the catechus. So, to my mind, they represent the two hemispheres of the brain, with the pineal gland, of course, being in the middle. And usually the pineal gland symbol, whatever it might be, is significantly larger than whatever flanks it. And in my mind, again, that stresses and emphasizes the importance of the pineal gland in relation to the rest of the brain. Okay, the utmost importance it seems to have for the ancients. Yeah, Fleece and the Fleece, the catechus. That's exactly right.
There you go. Yeah,
the two snakes going up the road. That's the one.
This is the power. This is the power of the chat room. If you're missing out, if you're not here.
Yeah, no, that's true. So this symbolism is all around us, and I know you can't talk on this, Dave, so I won't involve you here. But most of what the Freemasons teach you is in plain sight. There's nothing is really hidden. Okay, it's not really a hidden kind of thing. You just can't see it. There's a difference, because you don't know what you're looking at. Once you've been taught what you're looking at, and you look with the right understanding, all of a sudden it's like all these things fall away. It's like you have been blind all along, and now you open your eyes, you go, oh my goodness, this has been going on all along here. This is all time. Here in front of me the whole time. And the answer, yes, it is. Now, Fleece and the Fleece is asking where this place is. I don't know. I saw it in a documentary. I'll find it. Let me see. I think it's called the complete silence room. But like I said, people can't stand being in there for very long. Complete silence room.
Well, while you're looking it up, Becky, if you're a Simpsons fan, you will recognize the scene where Homer is in the floating isolation booth, which is extraordinary that they should play on that for the Simpsons.
So
go ahead.
Sorry. It's called an anechoic chamber, which meaning it doesn't produce an echo, right? So it's an anechoic chamber, and there's one in Redmond, in Washington. Okay, and is there an address to this? No address. Microsoft built it. Microsoft built
of course
this room.
They did. Yep.
Okay, so there's one there in oh yeah, well, of course, Redmond, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one there, and I think there's another one. Oh no, I think it's the same room. Let me see. But look, if you can find it, there might be more than one, obviously. It's called an anechoic chamber. And
post the link, Becky. That'd be great.
No, I'll put the link in. Yeah. No, this one here. This is from 2024. Oh, this one's created at Allfield Laboratories in Minnesota. So I'll post both articles into the chat, and you can follow it up. If you're in the States, which I'm not, obviously you've got a much easier time of getting this. There's one here, and maybe the university can help you find it. So this one is going in the chat, and the Microsoft one is coming here now. Okay,
there we go.
I've posted both in the chat. See, this is again the power of the chat. If you're not here, try to be here. Okay, but those are really
wow.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, nobody on record has managed to stand in the world for a whole hour. I mean, I think there was like a money prize attached.
Sure.
To it. Like $1 million or something.
Yeah. Pity it's not next door. I would have done it.
Oh, I would have definitely given it a good hot go. Yes. So, but I don't know. I'd love to figure it out. I have done sensory deprivation chambers, but obviously not to the level of installation of this. And I like it. I was floating in a high salt water tank. It's City Cave, Dave. City Cave does this.
Yeah, cool.
In Sydney, and you can have no music. I like the music, but I did turn the music off once. It was completely dark. Wow. You're floating. The water is body temperature. It's pretty cool, but it's not perfectly soundproofed.
Yeah,
you can still hear some of the things that are going on.
Yeah,
but we are no longer used to it. See, I believe this. Sorry, this is going off track a bit. But
5 million if you can last an hour. Oh, that's fly me out there, whoever you are. I don't care. I'll do it.
Yeah. Oh, you say this now, but I'd love to see you try. No, but truly, if we could be alone with our thoughts, and if we could truly listen, and I really believe this, I think that a lot of the more primitive, what we call primitive people on the planet, are much closer to nature. I mean, that's a fact. They are. But I also believe that they have abilities that we are either completely ignorant of or completely ignore. So either way, we don't know about it or we choose to not know about it, right? And I believe that talking to animals, listening to nature and all those things, we could do. I think we have the capacity to communicate with animals. I mean, anybody who's got a pet, you can certainly a dog, a cat, an ape. Let's say you have an ape as a pet, or any mammal, really, in my mind, or some of the higher order animals. You can communicate with.
Yeah,
your pets communicate with you, right? Now, I think we can communicate with all animals, or we used to be able to do that, until our world became too noisy. It became too noisy, and we stopped listening, and we started living in cities, and it all went downhill from there. And now, if someone says things like this, we have our fairy tales a chock-a-block full of talking animals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They're chock-a-block not just of animals, but of all kinds of things that communicate with them. Chock-a-block. And that's the music, I think.
It sure is. And this has been another David Make Your Shiny Side Out. We'll catch you for Tuesday and Thursday morning, 7 a.m. The usual time, usual place for Plato's Cave. And yet again, back again for a Shiny Side Out next weekend. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment. And see us in the wild. Do whatever you can. Meki, the only thing that's left is...
to be safe!